Hi students, in this first help video I'm going to give you some guidance to some of the assignments that I have set up, and I'm going to try and give you some strategies for how to do well in the course. So first of all, you'll see here that below the agenda that tells you what you have to do for each week, I've laid out a suggested schedule. A schedule by which you can still keep your weekends if you follow it and if you are proactive. Now, I know that we all have different responsibilities. Not everyone can set aside Monday through Friday. But I encourage you to at least think about the way I've structured these schedules. And in particular to think about following the pattern that I've set out for how to go through the different material of the course. I've never done this before, so if you do this and you kind of keep an eye on how much time you're spending, and you can give me some feedback. Hey, you're saying that you need more time than you actually need for this. Actually, I need a lot more time than what you said I needed. That would be very helpful. Now, of course, this is actual time spent working. This isn't just time spent with your browser open, and I know as well as anyone that it's easy to get distracted. So this is actual time, my suggested actual time that's necessary to spend on these materials. And you'll see that each week, roughly talking about spending about 10 hours a week or so on the material for this class, which is definitely the lower end of standard. At Eastern, we say to budget 10 to 18 hours a week for your classes. In this class, it's more consistently around 10, but you will need to put in 10 hours, and some weeks you'll need to put in more than 10 hours. Okay, so let's go down, because you all know how to play a YouTube video and you all know how to read a textbook. Let's go down and look at some of these different assignments. First one I want to talk about is the discussion assignments and the discussion boards. So you have one of these every week. This is where you're going to read a primary source, a source that is an eyewitness account from a historical period, and then you're going to post to the discussion board answering 2 of the questions that I provide. So the questions are down here. Read the source carefully, read it critically. This isn't just like reading an article on a news website. This is something that you should be thinking about, making notes about, asking questions of as you go through it. So you're reading it actively, you're reading it critically, and then you post to the discussion board. So to post to the discussion board, follow the link here. It brings you to the discussion board. Here's your discussion, week 2 discussion. Click in. It's a post first discussion. You have to post your own initial post first before you start to comment. And so you'll just create a thread and you'll post your answers there. Now, here you can see the grading information for each of these discussions. It's the same for each one, but I encourage you to read it carefully, and in particular to study the rubric that I've made available so you can see how I'm going to grade the discussion forum. So I'll show you, click on this icon here, and it brings up the rubric. Here we have the different categories. These are relatively self-explanatory. The one that catches people out all the time is timeliness. People will wait until the last hours before the end of that week's module to post to the discussion forum. And that's just not conducive to a good discussion. And so that's why I said to take a careful look at the suggested schedule when you should be posting, making your initial discussion post. That's the time when you want to be doing that if you want to be gaining full marks in timeliness on this rubric. Reading some resources. Make sure you're responding to the readings. Make sure you're talking about the readings in detail, and that means using at least one direct quote from the source. Context. Make sure you're connecting your post to the material from the textbook and the lecture videos that you've been looking at over the course of the week. Stylistics. Just make sure you proofread your posts, and there's nothing that says that the student didn't care about this assignment more than a post that is full of careless spelling and grammatical errors. And lastly, commenting. This doesn't usually affect a lot of people, but there are usually a couple of people where it slips under the wire. They'll make a really good discussion post and then forget about the rest of the discussion assignment. Remember that you must not only make an initial post responding to one of the study questions, you need to make at least 2 detailed comments on other students' posts. And this means you go more than simply saying, I agree with the point that you made. It means that you're furthering the conversation in some way. If you want to have full credit in the commenting section, it means that you have been developing the thread, that particular discussion. So it's fine to say, I agree, but then you need to say, I agree, had you thought about this part of the text that supports your point or that nuances your point? At least 2 detailed. I tell students, if you want to be safe, make 3 detailed comments. So it's my guidelines to the discussion rubric. I'll provide you with some help videos on some of the other assignments for this course as well.